Nvidia released the RTX 3080, the RTX 3070, and the RTX 3060 Ti. And now we have leaks for pretty much all the other graphics cards that Nvidia is going to come out with in the next few months. We have new information about the RTX 3080 Ti. We have new information about the RTX 3070 Ti, the RTX 3060 non-Ti version, the RTX 3050, and a lot of the mobile variants of these GPUs, the Max-Q and the non-Max-Q versions. So let's discuss whether you should wait for the new cards or wait for the old cards to get back in stock. Because as we can probably tell from past events, the new cards, when they come out, will also likely be very low stock. Before we begin, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment talking about which graphics card you're looking forward to get your hands on in the comment section below. So we have a few different sources from which we got the information about the new graphics cards coming out. HP's OEM driver list, the V-Ray mobile RTX benchmarks, and the AIDA64 firmware update. All three of these listed various new GPUs out of Nvidia that are coming out in the next couple of months. What's compelling about this information and why I think you should care is that recently Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and we saw from benchmarks that to get this game to run well with ray tracing enabled, you kind of need DLSS. So for most of us, this makes the AMD GPUs non-starters, and we have to focus our attention on what Nvidia can offer us. All we have available are really the 3080, 3070, and the 3060 Ti. I'm not even counting the 3090. If you're interested in getting the 3090, you're going to get that, and you're probably not even thinking about any of the other cards. Nvidia is expanding this lineup with some of the Ti variants of these cards. We expect to see the 3080 Ti, the 3070 Ti, both come out relatively soon. Also, if you're on a slightly tighter budget, the RTX 3060 is also expected to come out soon. Now, performance numbers for these cards haven't been released yet, but what I'm really glad to see is that for the most part, these rumors are saying that these GPUs are going to come with higher memory capacities. Instead of running GDDR6X memory, a lot of them are running GDDR6 memory. But because this is slower memory with higher yield, you're getting cards with 20 gigabytes of VRAM and 12 gigabytes of VRAM rather than the 10 gigabytes of VRAM that you're currently stuck with the 3080. I've made a previous video on the RTX 3080 Ti. If you want more information specifically about that card, I'll have the video linked in the info card above. Feel free to watch it after you watch this video. But in today's video, let's focus a little bit more on the RTX 3070 Ti coming out. So if you don't have $1,000 to spend on the RTX 3080 Ti or the RX 6900 XT, then the 3070 Ti is probably a bit more of a value option for you. It'll obviously come in a little bit cheaper than the RTX 3080, but it's probably going to have very similar performance to the 3080. So here's what I'm thinking. It's likely going to be a 3080 die with a couple of the CUDA cores turned off. Just like the 3080 Ti is likely going to be a 3090 die with a couple of the CUDA cores turned off because of yield issues. This likely means that the 3070 Ti is going to have really close performance to the 3080, and rumor has it that it's actually going to come with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM rather than the 10 gigabytes of GDDR6X that we see on the 3080. So Nvidia is being strategic here. They released the 3080, 3070, 3060 Ti early with lower VRAM that's running at a slightly higher speed. This means that they're able to really showcase that DLSS works well and you don't really need the extremely high memory. But eventually you're going to get these Ti style of cards that are going to come out with higher memory capacities, but maybe not as high speed memory, which is completely fine. GDDR6 is plenty fast, and I think it's going to be fast enough to get mostly what you need out of a RTX 3070 Ti. If you're gaming at 1440p, maybe at 100-120 Hz, that's probably a more budget-friendly option, and it gives you more flexibility when choosing other components in your system, such as getting a good CPU. And because you're likely going to be getting one of the new Ryzen CPUs, you probably want to pick up one of the newer motherboards too. Intel doesn't really have any competitive options in the CPU category right now. Hopefully they're competitive again in the next generation. The 3070 already performs better than the 2080 Ti, so the 3070 Ti is going to perform significantly better than that. The 3070 has about a 20-25% performance differential compared to the 2080 Ti, so maybe this will hit 30%. And if you're running a GPU that's older than that, maybe a 1080 Ti, maybe you're even in the 900 generation of cards, this is probably going to be a very good upgrade, and it's likely not going to be much more expensive than the RTX 3070 that's out today. In fact, I get the feeling that it's pretty much going to replace it in the market. If you wait for the aftermarket cards, I'm sure you can get 3070 Ti's that are pretty much on par in terms of price with some of the 3070 models out right now. And the added VRAM makes it more useful for non-gaming tasks, where you can make use of the higher memory capacity rather than the higher memory bandwidth. The ADA firmware update also gave us a glimpse into the RTX 3060 and the RTX 3050. The 3060 is based on the GA106 version of the chip, and the 3050 is going to be a bit more cut down with the GA107 version of the chip. That's fine. If you're looking to build a 1080p gaming system, then even the 3050 might work for you, especially with the 3060, because it's expected to come in both a 6GB and a 12GB variant. You'll have plenty of VRAM to play any game you want at 1080p, and you'll probably be able to hit 60 FPS. With ray tracing on, I'm not really sure. I don't think that we can really expect that. Cyberpunk 2077 has kind of shown that if a game implements ray tracing extensively, the performance hit that you can expect to get from enabling ray tracing is very, very high. So for most games though, I don't expect this to be an issue. Extensive ray tracing is probably not going to appear in every single game, especially because a lot of the mainstream games are built for consoles first. So they're going to have to deal with the limitations of the console hardware rather than the PC hardware. Cyberpunk 2077 was clearly built with PCs in mind, and as we can see on the performance in some of the consoles, that was kind of an afterthought that they're trying to fix now. So for the desktop variants, that'll pretty much complete Nvidia's lineup for this generation. You have at the lower end the RTX 3050, and at the higher end you'll have the 3090, 3080 Ti, and once all of the Ti variants of the cards come out, you're going to have a pretty complete set of GPUs to pick from for whatever budget you have. Why I think Nvidia is going to win this generation is because they have DLSS, which will let most gamers experience higher fidelity graphics in games where it makes sense. So once again, I'm going to speak about Cyberpunk 2077. This is a game where high FPS isn't really necessary. If you're able to hit 60 FPS for the most part, it's good enough. It's not a twitch action reflex type of game like most shooters or fighting games. It's more of a cinematic experience that you're playing through. It's single player. There's not really a big competitive edge that you're going to get from a high FPS count in this game. So if you're playing this type of game and you have some of their lower, more mid-range, some of their lower end, more mid-range graphics cards like the 3050, 3060, 3060 Ti, you'll be able to use those cards with DLSS enabled and maybe even crank up some of the other settings and get a really good, really high visual fidelity gaming experience out of these cards. As for non-gaming applications, this is actually really great. If the 3060 ends up coming out with 12 gigabytes of VRAM and you're interested in doing computer applications, but you're kind of more on a budget, and maybe you're a student and you want to run some of your own machine learning models at home, maybe you're doing some 3D modeling work and then having a GPU is necessary, but you don't want to break the bank to get a high-end graphics card. Maybe your power supply doesn't support a high-end graphics card and you don't want to have to make two upgrades. Then the 3050 and the 3060 card are going to make a lot of sense for you, just because they have the 12 gigabyte memory variant of these GPUs that are going to be perfectly fine for those applications and also really good for games. If you're looking for all-arounder type of GPUs that is really good on the budget, really good on the budget side, but also high performing, I would say wait for the 3050 and the 3060 to come out. It's not like you can get the other GPUs in stock right now at retail prices, so there's no point in overpaying when Nvidia is going to release some of these GPUs later on. And just because there's going to be more SKUs of GPUs out on the market and they're going to have supply for all of them, it's going to be much harder for retailers to charge more for the GPUs that are already out now, and it's going to be much more difficult for scalpers to justify buying a bunch of GPUs and then trying to flip them on Facebook Marketplace or eBay for a higher price. So if you can wait 2 to 3 months, then it makes sense, I think, to just wait and see what's available. By then, Nvidia will have updated their GPU drivers for the new generation of cards a few times, and you'll probably get better performance in the games you want to play with these new GPUs anyway. And if you're running compute type of applications, then driver updates also help there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a really good time to be thinking about a computer upgrade, but I don't think it's the best time to do an upgrade right now. If you have the patience to wait a couple of months, then I think you're going to be able to build a really great system on a fairly small budget. You're going to get better performance out of a $1,000 system today relative to like a $2,000 or $3,000 system compared to even 2 years ago, I would say. The 2000 generation of GPUs out of Nvidia were fairly disappointing compared to the 1000 series, but it seems that the 3000 series is shaping up to be kind of a game changer for them. Although supply constraints are kind of getting in the way of us consumers being able to benefit and enjoy these GPUs. Hopefully those issues will be resolved in the next couple of months. That's it for me today. If you like this video, make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I like to talk about tech, programming, and education on this channel, so if you're interested in those things, make sure to stick around. And make sure to drop a comment on which GPU you're looking to get your hands on in this upcoming year. 2021 is going to be a great time to be a computer enthusiast, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and remember to always keep learning. Bye-bye.